Hey guys, Luke Newcomer with the Newcomer Group. We're standing here at 3417 Land's End Drive. It's a really special house. There's so much to take in, but we're going to do something super special today. We're standing here with Jeff Brecko, who's not only the owner of the home, he built this home. Solid reputation in town, quality construction. And what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about the elements of the home, talk about Jeff's business, and really dive in so you get to know this home intimately. It's going to be great content, great photos, great video. This is extra special. So Jeff, thanks for hopping in here.
Yeah,
It's
thanks.
going to be a lot of fun. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and then let's just dive in about the business first and then the home, if that's cool.
Sure. So I've been building for a little over 30 years. Started out as a frame carpenter, kind of a working foreman model in Virginia where I began. Moved down here, have been here for 20 years.
Wow. Building the whole time?
Building the whole time with the same company the whole time.
Tell us about the company. Who are you with?
So I jumped on board with Aurora Builders back in 2003 when we moved here, and really haven't looked back since. I started out as a superintendent there, worked my way into construction management role, and now I'm vice president.
So you've done essentially every moving part of the construction process for the most part. Started out framing. What got you into custom home building?
So interestingly enough, I was always interested in art, and then I became interested in architecture.
I'm going to pause you on that. This home is a piece of art. So you stand here, this straight back shot, which you probably can't see on camera, but I know you'll get some B-roll clips. This is like a true visionary piece of art. So when you say you started in the arts, transformed into custom home building, it really shows in this product. So
Thank you.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I wanted to say that because you're probably more humble than I am about this house. It's incredible, and it really showcases kind of the visionary that you're explaining. So interrupted you, but what got you into custom home building?
So it was kind of a natural progression. So I went to college, studied art in college. I moved into 3D form. Okay. So designing not just sculptures, but installations and spaces, which also kind of connected me back with my interest in architecture. I actually interned with an architect when I was in high school and quickly realized that wasn't the path I wanted to go down. It was a little too staid and just not what I was after. I was too energetic, I think.
More moving parts with construction, I feel. A little bit more creativity. And being an architect, there's a huge art form behind that, but it's just, you're kind of right here.
For sure. So when I started doing these installation pieces in college, I was kind of the conceptual person, but I didn't have the facility with the tools. Mm-hmm. I happened to have some classmates who had carpentry and construction backgrounds. I started collaborating with them and became very enamored with being able to actually, do every bit of building these installation pieces. I also started picking up carpentry jobs as income while I was in college, working with these guys.
It's fascinating that it kind of transitioned from art into construction.
Yeah.
You don't hear many people go from that path to the construction side.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of parallels with it.
For sure.
In many ways. Would you say, I mean, I don't even know how many homes you guys have built around Northeast Florida, but would you say, is there a signature style behind your construction and style?
So I would say not really.
Okay.
We're very much a custom shop, which means it's the client's home. So first and foremost, our concern is listening to the client and, ascertaining not only what they're after as far as livability, what their family's like, what they like to do, what the functional use of the home will be. The artistic elements are actually kind of easier.
Yeah. So it's really, you're pulling data from these clients and saying, okay, we want this, this, and this, and then your job is to bring that vision to life. And it could be an assortment of different styles and finishes.
Yes, unfortunately, sometimes it's driven heavily by the client. Oftentimes, we have very good interior designers that collaborate, but it's the client's home in the end. So I will try to steer them in what I think is the right direction, but ultimately, my job is to have a high performance home that fits the style they're after.
Sure. So with all of that said, what do you think sets yourself apart from other construction companies, other builders? Because we're talking about, you brought customer service, quality finishes, efficiency. I mean, what would be that one thing, that like kind of special sauce for your company in particular?
So where I think we're most different is the principal of Aurora, Michael Lenahan. He is a trained architect. Wow. He does not practice architecture. He instead, like me, preferred to go into construction. I think we both grew up with a similar sort of background, growing up watching neighborhoods in the Northeast pop up, and they became our playgrounds.
Yeah.
Back before there was a lot of no trespassing sign and fencing.
Sure.
The 80s. So he provides kind of a second set of eyes in addition to the architect that'll be hired for the job. So we don't design our own plans, instead we critique them. What I think is lost a lot of times in the traditional model, where an architect produces a set of plans for a client and then perhaps an interior designer comes in and designs the interiors, is the communication with the client.
Yeah.
And the critique of those from a functional, energy efficient, sustainable, and livability
So it's a super intimate process is what you're telling me. And it's not like you're just, hey, we're going to build 500 homes a year. It's like, hey, it's almost like you're sought out after.
Yes.
And there's maybe 12 months, maybe even more of time that you're preparing and organizing and getting the site ready and understanding what the client's looking for. I mean, it's a long-term process more than just here's the plan, let's build it right away.
Yeah, I mean, 6 months to 3 years is the usual cycle just to get from, starting with a client to actually breaking ground. One of the other things that makes us very different is we usually don't participate in the one of three bidders scenario. So even though there might be a great set of plans and, it might be a project we're really excited about, we will try to impress upon the owner the need to bring the builder on early, because we feel a lot is lost in the owner's understanding of what they have in hand.
Yeah, especially if they've never built before.
Especially.
You don't know what you don't know. And when you get someone like yourself with decades of experience, you can almost help them understand the things to avoid early on instead of, okay, we're here and now it's a problem.
Absolutely.
So to me, all of that's really fascinating, and we could probably, I could nerd out on this for a really long time like you could, but I want to talk about the house now.
Sure.
It's special to be in the owner who's also a builder's home, and I feel like we're standing in the heart of the home right now. Where the camera is actually one of your favorite views, and it's probably hard to see. I said this already, but it's just unbelievable. You've got 1,200 feet of frontage. You're sitting on 6 acres. You got over, excuse me if I'm incorrect, but over 4,700 square feet. Is that accurate?
That is right.
Okay, and then we're in this kitchen. It's stunning. You got the quartzite countertops. You've got incredible appliances, beautiful finishes. Like, this to me is kind of the heart of the home, but there's so much more to take in. So let's talk about this house. Like, what inspired you to build this house on this lot? Because we probably can't go into too much detail, but it's 6 acres with a lot of frontage.
Yeah.
But it was a challenging lot to build such a timeless home.
Yes. So 6 acres, probably 5.5 of it wetlands.
Okay.
Now, wonderful, right?
It's
tremendous
beautiful.
Privacy. No neighbors to either side for about a quarter mile. So the backyard is an oasis, especially if you like to fish like we do.
I got some of their fresh fish. It's out of control.
Yeah.
We've got a freezer stocked with it, so
yeah,
you can almost live off the land here.
Yeah, yeah. But the lot itself was challenging, which is why it sat here for 20-some years while the rest of the homes were built.
Sure.
All the other homes in here, there's 17 total. The other 16 were built out over 20 years ago. This lot sat here because I don't think anybody could appreciate what could be done with it.
Sure. How long did you watch this lot, or did you just kind of stumble across it?
So I don't think we realized it was available initially when it was offered as a lot, and then it was offered as a lot home package. But frankly, even though there was a builder and an architect that I know attached to it, the plan was really just not at all creative.
Sure.
It faced due north, the pool was facing due south, so the house was oriented, kind of like sideways.
Yeah. Tell us, because they probably can't tell on camera, what's everything facing right now?
So
give them that vision.
that's due east,
Yep.
that's due west, south, north.
Okay.
The lot lays out actually perfectly to have a nice wide house. You can't have tremendous depth. The building plat, as it was created, is limited, and it's an obtuse triangle where the hypotenuse has a bit of an arc. It really forced me to design a house that was kind of eccentric. I played around, as I showed you earlier, with a blow up of the actual building footprint, the limits, and I played around with blocks. I did cutouts of various room shapes, and then I pushed myself against the building lines, building restriction lines.
So a lot of trial and error of just playing with the formalities of what you can do.
Correct.
Without disrupting the footprint.
Right.
Because when you say wetlands, there's challenges with that.
Yep.
You have trees around the property. Some of them you probably couldn't mess with. So there was a lot of thought that went behind this end product.
For sure. And you're right. That's another thing that's kind of great about this neighborhood, but was a challenge building this home. Fortunately, I'm a good fit because I hate cutting down trees.
Sure.
To me, that just makes the space.
And I would say that on a macro level of just the neighborhood, I think that speaks volumes for probably everybody here, because when you come behind that gate, it's lush landscape everywhere. It's very mature. So I think you kept up with that.
Yeah, thank you. It's very natural, kind of old Florida. And this island has a really long history, which is cool. Actually, when we were putting in the bulkhead, we found a bunch of old cattle posts from when cattle were raised out here. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So
Did you save it?
Yeah, I have them. I have them.
That. Okay, we're bouncing around, which is great. What are some unique features about this home that you probably just won't see in another one? And I say this not as a compliment, but it is. This is arguably, we've sold more than 1,500 homes. This is arguably one of the most beautiful homes I've ever stepped foot in St. Augustine.
Well, thank you.
To you, in your opinion, what are some of the most special features that you might not find anywhere else?
So I would say the design is probably number one, because frankly, the encumbrances and the difficulty I had with laying this house out, and I spent over 6 months designing it with my wife. And frankly, I think it pushed me to really come up with something extraordinary. I think it's a great layout. I think when you approach the house and you have the peek-through view through the arch to the pool and then beyond to the wetlands, an estuary is incredible. When you come in the front door and you have the 2-story foyer with a custom railing, and then the view through the open corner accordion door.
It's special.
Yeah, so anybody can put nice finishes in a home.
Yeah.
But how you design them and how it comes together, how you flow through the spaces.
So it's not what you use, it's how you use it.
Yeah, and again, views are very important, right? So
Yes.
This, which is arguably the best view in the house,
Yes.
this was my wife's vision. She saw this in a magazine, House in California, and of course it's wall-to-wall windows, countertop to cabinet windows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, honey, we can't do that in Florida. Like, I can only have so big a piece of glass and meet wind code. But we did our very best to emulate it. And frankly, that contribution, makes this space.
It makes the space 1,000%. So what about just kind of thinking out loud of things that are important to an end user, right? You've got the impact glass. It's energy efficient. We're on the water. What about elevation?
So I've learned in living in Villano and St. Augustine area for the past 15 years with some of the storms that have come through that you really can't get away with not bringing everything up to the 100-year flood elevation.
Sure.
So the pool, all the equipment, everything is at that flood elevation, above that flood elevation. So you're not going to have any concern with water getting in here. The bulkhead is actually higher than the curb at the road.
Really?
Yeah. So this house sits kind of on a crown in the neighborhood.
So high elevation.
High elevation.
What about energy efficiencies here?
So, kind of always do this, but, spray foam sealed attic.
Okay.
So the house has a very tight envelope. High efficiency HVAC systems, train, variable speed, air handler, and condenser, 4-inch media filter. Again, these are kind of typical things I would do, but yeah, it makes
But it's important because when you come in here, you see all the great stuff, but then it's like, this is quality construction. It feels very well built, very safe. And you come in, you don't know what's behind the walls.
Right.
And you use top-notch everything, which just sounds like it's pretty standard practice for how you build anything and put your name behind. I lost my train of thought there. The siding. And the first floor, so it's concrete block stucco. Second floor is framed out. What type of materials did you use for framing?
So 2x6 walls.
Okay.
Plywood sheathing, and then, floor trusses, roof trusses. The front, which is all stucco, is actually blocked 3 stories up. So the parapet wall, which parapet walls have they're just problematic if you don't build them out of concrete. Eventually water will find its way in. You can't beat concrete and block.
One of my favorite features of this home personally, there's a lot. The primary ensuite. Okay, you got an elevator in this house that takes you from the first to second to the third floor. And third floor is all ensuite. And when I walk in there, I feel like I'm walking into like a Ritz-Carlton hotel.
Wow.
It's very peaceful. It's inviting. Tell me about the process of putting that whole area together, because it takes over the entire third floor. You can actually see the ocean.
Yep.
Peekaboo view. You got stunning California closets.
Yep.
California closet. The ensuite's incredible. You've got incredible views. Like, tell us about that. Where did that design process come from? And what were maybe some challenges putting that all together?
Yeah, so we realized that, I like for the massing of the house, I like for it to kind of grow. And so we knew we were going to have a third floor just because we wanted the square footage, and it just made sense to put the master up there. We knew that the second floor was going to be primary living. Deliberately kind of kept the first floor guest suite, garages, and kind of the rec area, if you will, because in the event of a storm surge that would inundate the entire area, it's resilient. There's not much to replace. You're not losing the whole kitchen if something were to happen. Sure. Having the master primary suite on the third floor, privacy, views, and it's like an oasis. I mean, the other bedrooms are quite remote. And
every bedroom's en suite in here. You got the home gym, you have the full-on guest house room here that's separate from the home. It's an incredible design. But the primary is just out of control. Tell me, or tell them, because I know, the soaking tub.
Yeah, so that was that was the challenge, if you will, on this house. It's cast concrete, weighs about 500 pounds, and it's shaped like half of an egg. I hired movers to help us get it up there, and I knew I would use the elevator. The lesson I learned is that if I were to do it again, that would have been boomed up in place when we were still framing the house. It was a nightmare, and I nearly gave up and just bought another tub. But my electrician, who had stayed late that day and is just such a great guy, he insisted that we could get it done. So myself, him, and 3 movers wrestled that thing into the elevator up to the third floor and got it done.
You got it done. Okay, so just moving on, keeping the conversation going, because I could go all day. What advice would you give to someone looking to build their own custom home? Because we've all heard horror stories. So
interview the builders early. Find a builder that you can relate to, that you trust, and you think listens and communicates well.
Would you encourage, so you want to build, do you interview the builder before you find the land? Or do you get the land and then start interviewing the builder?
So oftentimes we will actually spend months or years even searching with a client to find the right lot.
Sure.
So there's no wrong way to do it. I mean, oftentimes people will already have the property, But if you have the means and you have the time, yeah, of course, have the builder visit multiple lots with
Build
you,
that relationship
figure out what
as
can be
soon as
done.
possible on this.
Sure, because this is a perfect example. Like if somebody had wanted to build here and had, the other builder and architect had no vision for what could be done here.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people who know this lot and know that it's sat here for 20 years say to me like, God, we didn't think anybody could build anything like this there.
Well, I think it speaks volumes about your product, your process, your finishes, and your vision. A couple closing thoughts. What do you believe this home says about you as a builder? Because this kind of represents who you are. I mean, this is like a house is a huge representation of the personality, the work, everything.
I hope it says that I'm accomplished. And by that, I just mean that I've learned over the past 30 years how to design and build something that I think is really appealing and is at the same time comfortable and casual.
From an artistic standpoint, this is something you should feel very proud to put your name behind. Jeff Brecko, this has been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Home. We're excited for you guys to see more as we unfold information about this home, launch it out. Again, it's Luke Newcomer with the Newcomer Group. We really appreciate this. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, give it a comment, share it with a friend, and we'll catch you next time.